Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Abby if you're new here, and today we're going to be talking about expenses that you most likely will encounter when you move to Canada. And this really is going to be beneficial for anybody who's moving to another country because these expenses are set categories that anybody who's moving to another country would have to pay. So before we get into the expenses per se, you guys, if you're a subscriber on my channel, you guys will notice that for the last 7 or so weeks, I have been MIA, absent without leave, and I just haven't been posting frequently. I was on a mental health break. You call it laziness, but I was taking a much needed break for myself. But I am back here now. I am back to making videos and I'm excited to connect with you guys again. So make sure you're hitting the subscribe button and notification bell so you guys always know when I publish a new video. But then I also want to say thank you to so many people who sent me messages just to check on me. I'm doing well. Thank you for your thoughts. Thank you for your well wishes. I appreciate it and I hope that all is going well with you too. So let's go straight into the video. Expenses you might encounter when you move to Canada or any other country. So the reason I'm doing this video is because I had a subscriber send me a message just asking if it was possible for her to survive and thrive on a single income. So as you guys might know, you could definitely get 2 jobs when you move to Canada or America or Australia. You could get, as long as you're allowed and cleared to work, you could get as many jobs as you want. But I would also caution that there are set tax brackets for specific incomes. If you get like a second job that's paying you really well, that's going to increase your tax threshold. So you want to be really careful to know if a second job actually changes your bottom line, like your total income at the end of the day after tax. Because if you're getting income, let's say 50,000 from your first job and 40,000 from your second job, trust me, your tax is going to be exponentially increased, what you're going to have to pay. So just make sure you're taking into consideration the fact that a second job might increase your income, but it's also going to increase your tax threshold. So you need to balance whether your quality of life versus more money, whatever matters to you. As I continue this video, I'm going to be using some of my expense categories as an example and just, contrast and compare and let you guys know what you might see when you come here to Canada. So first and foremost, thinking about your expense and how much your spending power is really depends on your income. So let's use, for example, a single family income. And this video is really beneficial for people who are single, male, female. If you're married as a couple too, these expenses don't change. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to use a single female. So let's use myself. I'm going to go through categories and use some of my own examples so you guys can, have an idea of how things actually work here. And just to add, my own spending habits, I'm not really frugal, but I'm not spendthrift either. If you like to spend a ton of money and buy the latest designer things, then this video might really not help you because we're like mid-range expenses. That's how we spend money, in the middle. So I'm going to go into categories using myself, and I hope this is beneficial to you. The first and biggest expense category when you move here is rent. Accommodation usually takes at least 30% of your income, and a rule of thumb is to make sure you're not spending above 25 to 30% of your monthly income on rent. So that means if you're earning $4,000 every month, make sure your rent and utilities is about $1,000 to $1,200. So that's something you need to make sure you're calculating before you actually rent a place. It's always better to go on the lower end of that spectrum so that you can save more as opposed to going to the higher end. So rent is one of the biggest categories. I'm gonna do a video of my own apartment. It was pretty basic, very utilitarian, but I will show you how I ended up saving money because my accommodation was pretty low on my expense categories. And the way apartments are in Edmonton and Canada generally, they range from a studio or a bachelor's all up to 5-10 bedrooms, whatever your budget allows. So make sure you're getting getting something that is just enough for you. You don't need extra space, trust me. So it's just enough for you. But obviously, if you have a family and you have kids, that's something you're going to want to consider, and also add that to your budget. And once you're thinking about rent, you also have to be very careful. Make sure you're getting a place that has utilities included. So a lot of landlords would want to entice you to sign a lease by saying, oh, you're going to have internet for 1 year, you're going to have electricity, water. Make sure you're reading the fine print, and if it's possible, get a place that has all utilities included. And the utilities in Canada really are electricity, heat, sometimes water, and internet. So if you're getting all of that added to your rent before you pay it, then that's fantastic. But if you get a place where you have to pay electricity separately and you have to pay your internet separately, those will add at least $100 to your budget for rent. So number one tip, make sure you're getting utilities included. Another point I was going to make about accommodation too is that you guys know that when you first move to a new country, obviously you're going to have a capital more expenses that first month, because you're going to furnish, you're going to have to pay a security deposit. So the way it works here in Canada mostly is that when you rent a place, especially if you're moving from another country, they would usually want like a reference from your previous landlord just to say you're a good tenant. But once you tell them that you're an immigrant, most landlords will be lenient and let you rent. But you're going to have to put first and last month, which really just gives the landlord a cushion in case you end up being a bad tenant. So bear in mind that if you're renting for the first time, you're going to have to pay that month's rent plus an additional month's rent, and sometimes even a security deposit. My security deposit was $300, and they were doing a promotion, so I didn't have to pay first and last month rent. I just paid rent and a security deposit. So that's something you need to bargain for, that you will have to pay a security deposit regardless of where you stay in Canada. The second category of expense is transportation. I've done a video that compared and contrasted living in Edmonton, where I talked about bus passes. So every Canadian city has a public transit system. It might not be the best, it might not be good, but you can always use it to your advantage. So if you're using public transportation, that will benefit you in the long run because you're saving money. But otherwise, if you live in a very far area, or you just cannot manage waiting for the bus or train when it's winter, then you might consider getting a car or a vehicle. But bear in mind that having a vehicle will almost run you at least $5,000 to $10,000 a year. So I don't have a car in Canada right now. When it's winter, I'm taking the transit, I'm taking the bus. I'll tell you all about it in a separate video. But you need to really consider, do you want a car? Because there are additional costs that are associated with owning a car. It is one of the biggest expense categories as well. Usually for me, I would probably spend about $100 buying a bus ticket every month. And sometimes, because I also live downtown, I don't even buy a bus ticket for the month. So I just save on transportation costs. The next expense category is feeding. Obviously, everybody has got to eat. You have to eat to live. If not, you will die. They're like people who are foodies. They're like, oh gosh, there's this nice Italian restaurant. Oh, the cuisine. Have you been to this? I'm not a foodie. I eat to survive, but nonetheless, I like good food. But I want to just say something here. If you're looking to manage your expenses, especially if you're new to Canada, then you want to stay away from eating out. You want to make your food at home. I would say I usually, except I'm going out with friends for like a social event or something, I don't go eating out. I do not. But minimize eating out if you're looking to manage your expenses, especially when you first move to Canada or anywhere else. So monthly, I would typically spend about $200 on food. And sometimes, because I stockpile things too and I shop on sale, sometimes I end up even spending less. And honestly, think about it, that's like $50 a week. So you want to make sure you're not eating out, number one, and also you're eating at home and you're cooking your food from scratch. The fourth expense category is medicals and wellness expenses. So if you're moving to Canada, you would know that, one of the things we use to attract immigrants is the fact that we have free public health care. And that's true though, it's free. Seeing the doctor is free and it's covered by the federal or provincial health agencies. But when you want to do specialist work, you have something that's really serious and you need a specialist, you might be paying out of pocket. If you want to clean your teeth, dental is not covered under the free public health care. You have to pay for that. If you have like specialized needs, like, problems with your eyes, that's coming out of your pocket. So that's not covered by the public health care. So if you have any big major medical or wellness expenses, for example, like a massage too, it's not covered. So if you want to be getting massages all the time, you're going to have to be paying that out of your pocket. But the good thing is that sometimes when you get a lot of companies, when they hire you, they will give you something called a health spending account or a wellness spending account, which you can use to supplement whatever medical expenses you're paying out of pocket. The public health care will only cover you so much if you need specialized services. But if you're employed with a good company, most companies would do this, they would also supplement, give you about 800 to about 1,500 Canadian dollars extra to cover supplemental medical expenses. So that's something you should definitely be asking a new employer that, do you guys give a health spending account? If they do, take it. If they don't, ask them to add 1,000 or 5K on top of your salary. So the next category that I also encounter is beauty expenses, like personal beauty expenses. Especially ladies and guys as well. We need like makeup, personal expenses. We need to go to the spa sometimes. We need to, go for a mani-pedi. So all of those things are beauty expenses, and those are costs that you also might incur. As I told you, I'm sort of in between with my expenses. I don't overspend or underspend. So I do go get like, personal care service too, like my nails will get done, my hair will get done. I'll get a massage every now and then. So you want to also include that, and a lot of ways you can find deals. So I use so many deal searching websites to find these services at a very reduced rate, because making myself feel good doesn't need to break my bank account. So I'll definitely share some of those with you later on. The next category too that you would encounter is entertainment. If you're a guy or a girl, once you start work, you have friends who are like, oh, let's go watch a movie, or let's go see a baseball game, or let's go see a hockey game, let's go to West Edmonton Mall, to the water park. So these are entertainment things that you're going to have to budget for as well. I usually put a flat 100 to 200 bucks entertainment. I know it's low, but obviously it's not something I do all the time. And so, as I said, I hunt for deals a lot. So I would get something relatively moderately cheap. If you are moving to a new country, obviously you want to be social, but then make sure you're budgeting that so that doesn't break your bank account. The next category I would talk about is travel. A lot of people, especially when you come to Canada, you'd want to explore a little bit. These are things you need to budget and save towards. The last category would be shopping. As I mentioned earlier at the start of this video, I'd mentioned that I'm not really a spendthrift. I'm not into designer items. So I tend to plan my expenses. If I want a black blazer, best believe I will write it down for a while, say I want a black blazer, and then when I'm going through Hudson Bay or any department store and I see a black blazer for sale, I would buy it. Let me not lie, let me not tell lies. Sometimes I do impulse buys a lot, especially when it comes to fashion, and if the thing is really good at a good deal. But then what I do is that I start to scramble and rearrange my budget based on that expense that I just incurred. So sometimes you will see that I have a lot of new clothes, but I'm fasting that month. I will fast because I have no money to spend. So obviously when you're spending, when you're thinking about your expenses, you need to really think about what matters most to you. If you're a food person, obviously invest in food. If you don't really care where you stay, look for cheaper accommodations, but just make sure they are safe. So these categories, I hope they will help someone out there. Just bear in mind that you can scale this to any family unit. For example, if my income in a month was 4,000, just for example, if it was 4,000, my expenses will usually come to about 2,500. Or from 2,000 to 2,500, which leaves me with about 2,000 to save, because you really want to be saving. You don't want to be working for the Queen or working for the Prime Minister all your life. So guys, I hope this was useful to you. And yeah, if you're not subscribed, I don't know where it is. Subscribe right now. Subscribe right now. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye bye.